Good afternoon. My name is Tammy, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the Living Our Cause 2015 Webcast Series conference call. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. Ms. Ryan, you may begin your conference.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, and happy St. Patrick's Day. You'll see we have some festive green in the background for today. We are on today's Living Our Cause webcast, which is part of our 2015 webcast series. This year for Living Our Cause, we're offering webcasts just about every month this year. And they are running for approximately 30 minutes in length, and each month has a specific theme to it. So this month, as you probably have guessed and have seen through our promotions, we are focused on how does advocacy support our cause, and how are we all able to live our cause through advocacy. So before we begin today, I wanted to point out that we would encourage you to engage with us through social media during today's webcast. We encourage you to tweet out things that you've heard, give a shout out to some of our speakers that you'll hear today. They are your colleagues from around the movement. When you tweet or when you post anything to social media, such on your Facebook page or on Instagram, you can actually use the hashtag BecauseWhy or the hashtag YMCA. You can also find us at the Twitter handle at Living Our Cause, where we will be actively tweeting during today's webcast. So I want to give you a brief overview before we begin today about Living Our Cause, just to really set the field for everyone so that we're all at the same place and understanding what we're trying to accomplish through the Living Our Cause work. As you know, we have all made a promise to strengthen community. When we revitalized our brand in 2010, we said and we made a promise to our constituents that we are here for them and we are here for their community. We are here to specifically strengthen their community. And each one of us has a role in fulfilling that promise. So to really help all of us fulfill that promise, we have Living Our Cause. And the goal of Living Our Cause is really centered around how do we help remind staff and remind volunteers of our cause each and every day and celebrate their roles in fulfilling it. Through Living Our Cause, our goal is to help every single staff person and every single volunteer truly know their role in filling our promise. Secondly, we want all staff, all volunteers, members, donors to show their passion for our cause, and we want everyone to participate in the sharing of stories that connect people to each other and to our cause. Through Living Our Cause, we do this through 2 key tactics, and those are nuggets and storytelling. Some of you may be familiar with the word nuggets. Some of you may have be hearing it for the first time today. But nuggets are really just short, simple activities. They're really created to, in just a moment, help staff, help volunteers, help members reflect upon our cause and be reminded that we have one. Storytelling is how we are pushing ourselves to look differently at storytelling. How can we really help connect people? How can we connect members to each other through the sharing of stories? Through social media in simple stories or more formal stories in things like our annual case statements. Living Our Cause has a resource for you. It's called the Living Our Cause Pathway. And that pathway was created in early 2013 in partnership with YMCAs across the country. And that pathway really sets the foundation and the umbrella for how we can really have a continuum for fostering a cause-driven culture in our YMCAs. Throughout the pathway, there are approximately 20 to 24 steps. And each of those steps is really a critical piece that YMCAs who have been focused on this work for many years, they have found these steps to be really important in helping foster that cause-driven culture. What you're going to see throughout this pathway over and over are storytelling and nuggets, because those are the 2 key tactics of Living Our Cause. They're also the focus of today's webcast. So on today's webcast, what you're going to hear is our trainers and champions of Living Our Cause sharing nuggets and storytelling that they have applied in their YMCAs since becoming a trainer champion for Living Our Cause. Currently, across the movement, we have 188 awesome trainer champions for Living Our Cause. These trainer champions are helping set the foundation in their YMCAs and the YMCAs around them for how we can foster a cause-driven culture. The trainer champions we have represent 80 different YMCA associations and represent 30 different states. As you can see from the pictures on your screen, trainer champions for Living Our Cause have a lot of fun. I'm going to be sharing with you how you can become a trainer champion for Living Our Cause at the end of today's webcast. We have trainer academies throughout 2015, so you are able to join us if you so choose. So before we dive deep in today's webcast, I do want to point out something really important. Right now, we have a movement-wide nugget. And again, a nugget is these short, simple opportunities that we provide for staff to reflect upon our cause. In this particular nugget, it is focused on helping staff reflect on why do they give their time, their talent, their treasure to the YMCA. And so when they do this, we're asking them to really share their story. So we're incorporating storytelling, but we're asking them to do it in just 6 words because it is just a nugget, so it's small and it's simple. So we're asking staff, we're asking volunteers, members, and donors to really share why they give in just 6 words. You can engage staff and volunteers at all levels. You can engage external participants like your members and your donors as well. And you can either share online through social media using the hashtags BecauseWhy and YMCA, or you can share the printed out story cards in your lobby, wellness centers, staff lounges, etc. So there's many different ways to participate, and Ys from across the country have been participating for the last few weeks. We launched on February 16th and have been thrilled with the level of participation we've seen. We've got a couple weeks left and want to have you help us fill the waves with 6-word stories about why you and your staff and your volunteers give time, talent, and treasure to the YMCA. So thank you to everyone who's participated across the movement. A shout out, a huge kudos, a huge thank you for your creativity, and we encourage more of you to join in the next 2 weeks. So for today's webcast, we have a variety of speakers. We have myself, Sarah Ryan. I am the Senior Manager for Staff and Volunteer Engagement at YMCA of the USA. We have Kelly Kanai, who works as our Communications Director in the Government Relations Department in Washington, D.C., out of YUSA's office there. She'll be talking about advocacy and really sharing what we mean by grassroots advocacy. Tammy Bolduck from the YMCA of the Capital District is joining us. She is a trainer champion for Living Our Cause and doing great work in sharing nuggets and storytelling at the YMCA of the Capital District. Katie Block is from the YMCA of Metropolitan Atlanta. She's going to be talking about what she is doing specifically in her branch to utilize nuggets to engage staff in our cause. And lastly, you're going to be hearing from Chelsea Jocelyn. She's with the YMCA of Northwest North Carolina, and they are doing great work in terms of celebrating staff and celebrating volunteers and celebrating members who are living our cause on social media and in fun, informal ways. So we're going to hear from each of them briefly today, and then you will have a chance to ask them questions at the end of today's webcast. So the first speaker we have, you're going to hear from is, can you advance my slide, Steph? Thank you. Kelly Kanai from YMCA of the USA. Kelly has been with our Government Relations Department for several years and is really working to educate the movement on our government relations work. Kelly, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. You know, a lot of folks are always surprised when we tell them that the Y has a government relations office here in D.C., but rest assured we're here and we're advocating on behalf of the policies that help Ys across the nation strengthen communities. And we're not just doing this at the federal level, but we're also supporting YMCA state alliances and doing the same thing at the state level. But you know, we're only a few people here in D.C., and then there are a few more scattered across the country, and we can't do this alone. So, you know, you don't have to be in D.C. to be an advocate. You just have to be willing to share a little bit of your time and to tell your Y story and reach out to decision makers. So what is advocacy anyway, and what does it mean to the Y? So as you can see, according to Webster, advocacy is the act or process of supporting a cause or a proposal. You know, when people think about advocacy, they often think about passing laws or trying to keep certain laws from being passed. But really, it's all about the ongoing process of building relationships so that others will act on our behalf. And building relationships is what we do at the Y. So this is really very natural for us. The next slide. So there are three key components to advocacy, and it's really important that we have a balanced approach. And when all three of these areas are working together, we can be really, really effective and make an impact in our communities. And kind of like a three-legged stool, if you take one of the three legs away, the stool falls over. So we all need to work together. As I said, here in DC, YUSA has lobbyists who work with Congress, the administration, and our national partners. Then we also work with state alliances. They engage lobbyists to work at the state level. Next, media advocacy and public relations. We use media to tell our stories, and sometimes it focuses specifically on policy issues, but sometimes it's really, again, just sharing the good work that we're doing in our communities so people better understand who we are and what we do. And then lastly, grassroots. Oh, sorry, back to that slide. We engage in grassroots advocacy, and this is when citizen advocates, or people who probably don't have advocacy in their job descriptions, when they communicate with policymakers about their opinions about issues and different causes, and then they help to educate them about how policymakers' decisions are going to impact the lives of their constituents. And this is where you guys come in. Next slide, please. So grassroots advocacy is as critical as lobbying and working with the media. It's as important as philanthropy. It's important as so many of the things that we do. So the greatest thing is that anyone can take part in advocacy. And you know what policymakers want and need to hear from their constituents. It's great to hear from someone who sits in an office in DC like a lobbyist, but really you know best about what your community needs. You know the people who walk through your doors. So you need to be telling your story. If they don't hear from you, they won't have all the information they need to make the best decisions. Next slide. Thank you. And you know what? You don't have to be a CEO. You don't need to be a Y board member to be a Y advocate. Anyone at any level of the organization can be an advocate just by telling their Y story. So you can work at the pool, you can work at a camp, you can work at the membership desk, anyone. And then when we all raise our voices together with the same messages, we can really have a big impact. Next slide. So you might wonder how the stuff that's going on here in Washington and in the state houses across the country are affecting what's going in your Y every single day. But really, legislation and policy permeate everything we do at the Y. So for example, Y facilities are subject to a ton of state and local regulations. Everything from our pools to our camps and the buses or vans that we use to transport people around. Our charitable status and incentives for charitable giving are regulated by the tax code. And, we really rely on donor dollars to make sure that we're able to provide the needed services that our communities need. Some federal legislation that we're following, 21st Century Community Learning Centers. That's a federal program that supports academic enrichment opportunities for kids during out-of-school time. So that's programs like after school. And the Y uses this funding to help working families so that they have access to our programs. And then lastly, on the healthy living side, a piece of federal legislation that we're looking at is the Medicare Diabetes Prevention Act. And if that passes, then programs like the YMCA's Diabetes Prevention Program will be a covered service in Medicare so that people who rely on Medicare can participate in the program at no cost to them. We can move on to the next slide. So lastly, I want to share just one way that everyone can be an advocate, and that's to join the YMCA's Advocates Action Network. The Action Network is a group of individuals across the country who share their Y story with their public officials so that we can advance policies that support our cause. It only takes a few minutes to join, and when you do, you'll get a newsletter that will help you better understand the work that the Y is doing across the country, not just in DC, around our advocacy efforts. And you'll also get periodic alerts asking you to do simple things like send an email to your member of Congress or maybe even making a call. But these things only take a couple of minutes, and it's really, really important. Why do we need to do these things? It's because it puts us in control of our own story rather than letting other people tell it for us. We're our own best advocates, and we need to tell the powerful stories that come out of the Y so that they can see what we accomplish every single day. Again, I want to stress that everyone that has a story to tell about the Y's impact in the community is a Y advocate. I'm really excited that today we are able to share a few ways to engage staff and volunteers so that they can learn more about advocacy and maybe find a role for themselves as advocates. So I think that's it for me. Again, I encourage everyone to go to ymca.net/advocate, and you can join the YMCA Advocates Action Network. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, for sharing that with us today. We appreciate you helping us understand how we can all be grassroots advocates for the YMCA. Now I'm going to actually turn it over to Tammy Bolduc from the YMCA of the Capital District. Tammy started her YMCA career in 2008, and prior to her career with the YMCA, she worked at AYCO Goldman Sachs for 8 years. She's the Director of Administration at the Capital District YMCA in upstate New York, and in her role, she wears many different hats and takes on various projects and initiatives. Primarily, she serves as an executive assistant to the president and CEO and leads Living Our Cause initiatives for her association. Tammy was able to, for us, actually try a couple of nuggets that are focused on advocacy. And again, these nuggets that we have asked YMCAs to try are really focused on how do we help our staff better understand that we are all advocates and that the YMCA does advocacy work, to better understand what advocacy in the YMCA means. So now we are going to go pass it over to Tammy, where she's going to share a specific nugget that she used at her YMCA and how her staff responded to it, how the learnings she had, and why you should give that nugget a try at your YMCA today.
Thank you, Sarah. Our YMCA is a large association, and so here what we've done is we've comprised a association Living Our Cause team. And this team works together. We have one representative, one leader in every branch to carry out the Living Our Cause work at the branch. And here are photos of the team members with each of our How I Advocate pages with the ways that we do that so that we can share it with each other and also on social media. So what the team did was they went out into their branches and their community and used this to kind of start that conversation and talk about how they advocate, to share stories and to let them be heard in as many ways as possible, including social media. That way we can all work together. Next. This is just an example of a few of the other people involved outside of our team. The photos on the bottom right-hand corner are out of our Troy YMCA, and that little one in the bottom is me with the glasses. At the very top, I want to point out this is a picture of our president and CEO, David Brown, with one of our senators, Senator Breslin. And recently, our Director of Community Development, Orville Abrahams, he took Dave out to meet with Senator Breslin. And what's really great is that when Orville gets a chance to do this for our Y, because he really leads public policy and advocacy for our Y, he brings along our YMCA leaders. So I gave Orville this nugget, this activity to try, and Dave actually got a chance to do it with one of our senators, which is great. So next I want to talk about a few of the key learnings that came out of this. So what we realize is that every Y really needs to advocate, the staff, the volunteers, and the members. So this is really a part of our social responsibility, and our State Advocacy Day is actually tomorrow. We'll head down to the Capitol and the Legislative Office Building to hold one-on-one meetings with legislators and their staff to discuss the needs of our YMCAs and identify the most pressing needs around youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. So although we hold these meetings officially once per year, doing this activity and doing this work consistently throughout the year, and not just thinking about public policy one time and how we advocate on this day is really important. So doing it for the movement as a whole throughout the year is very important to us. So in preparation for Advocacy Day, the timing of this was really great because what we do consistently is we train people in our Y and outside of our Y, volunteers as well, so that they can understand the local, state, and federal policies that impact our programs. And we provide staff and volunteer education regularly, so we make sure that through whether it's an orientation or onboarding process, we're educating volunteers on our civic engagement, and we're ensuring that they're equipped and encouraged to share the WISE mission, cause, and community benefit. So what's important is not to just really share a menu of opportunities, but to engage, and this Nugget activity does that. It really allows us, through a simple tool, through a simple method, to engage and to start a story. You know, it's not just writing something down on a piece of paper and holding it up and taking a picture. It's the way that we share it. It's the way that we talk about it with each other. There's so many great examples that have come from our advocacy work. One of them most recently is our work with Healthier Communities Initiative to build some stronger clinic-to-community organization relationships and to champion certain things such as healthy meetings and events policies, which really speaks to our ability to include public policy and build strong relationships. So we saw this work pay off when the City of Albany here enacted the healthy meeting and events policy into a law. So that healthy meeting and events policy was actually proposed and created by our YMCA. On this slide here, it really shows all of the different Ys in New York State, and I just want to take a moment to let you know that the Capital District YMCA is very active in our New York State Alliance of YMCAs. So they really work to represent our YMCA and other YMCAs throughout the state, specifically through public policy and advocacy. They serve a total of 43 YMCAs and 130 branches in New York State. And in New York State, the Y serves over 1 million kids and employs over 20,000 New Yorkers. So there's a couple of other statistics there that I put up on the slide. And these things, all of these wonderful things really aren't possible without telling our cause and without using these types of nuggets and talking about advocacy. So last, I just want to say thank you for having me on this call. Tomorrow is going to be really great when all of our executive directors and leadership team go out to meet one-on-one with our legislators, and they're going to be using this nugget. They're going to bring it down there, and they're going to fill these forms out, talk about advocacy, talk about our cause, and talk about their priority issues with our state representatives, which is really, really great.
Thank you, Tammy. We appreciate you sharing today. Can you do one thing for me, Tammy? I'm going to actually back up the screen a couple of slides, and I want to show right here. When you did that How You Advocate nugget, it's hard to see on the screen for our viewers because the font is tiny, but what you really did was really give them some ideas of here are the different ways that you may have already advocated and you didn't even realize. So part of the process with this nugget is really creating that reflective activity for our staff to understand and see either opportunities they've already had to advocate or future opportunities of where they didn't see themselves as being an advocate, but they now can. And then obviously there was the social media component on the right of your screen that you can see now, where you had them fill out the story cards with a brief statement about how they advocated and then using the hashtag #WhyAdvocates so that we are linked together as a movement, all advocating together. So thank you for sharing that, Tammy. I appreciate that. And I am going to move to Katie Block. She is with the YMCA of Metropolitan Atlanta. She's going to talk about her branch and the nugget they have been using regarding advocacy. Katie's been working for the Y full-time for 6.5 years. She started part-time in 2004 as a camp counselor. She currently is a program director for the YMCA of Metro Atlanta, a Living for Cause trainer and champion, and a trainer for Intro to Listen First. So Katie, I am going to turn things over to you so you can share how you have used that nugget with your staff.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So just to kind of give you a little bit of history, we have been using our nuggets in our branch probably for the past really intentionally last couple of months, and it has just been really neat to see how it has affected our culture. And so we've used them with camps, with Play Center, with our director team. And then we've also, we're going to plan to do Living Our Cause training for all of our staff, and so we're excited to see kind of where that is going to take our culture and where it's going to take our staff and how connected they are to what we're doing. And so it's also just been neat to see how it's changed our culture so far, as well as how it's helped staff and members and whoever else experience the cause. And it's not just hearing about the cause, but it's actually experiencing what that cause looks like or feels like. So the nugget that we did was called What is Advocacy? And as you see on your screen, there is some scenarios down there. It was a simple nugget. It was lots of fun. We were split into groups of 2, and we talked through the scenarios. And so each group of 2 got a scenario, and it was a discussion-based nugget. And we gave them about 10 minutes to just kind of talk through what that looked like or what they would do in that advocacy scenario. And then we brought it back together and discussed our answers as a team, and also kind of talked about the debrief a little bit, as well as kind of talked about what advocacy looked like currently in our branch. And so, you know, the scenarios were hypothetical to some extent, but how do those actually apply to what we're doing? A couple of key learnings that we had. Next slide. A couple of the key learnings that we had is that it really did kind of create some great discussion and great communication around advocacy, and I think also made our team a little bit stronger just in regards to what we're actually working towards or the goals that we're trying to focus on. It also helped us to see where advocacy plays into our daily work life, and so advocacy sometimes seems that it would be on a bigger level than us, or, you know, working with politicians, but this one helped us to understand that that is something that we can do on a daily basis, and that even sharing our story with people around the community helps us to build those relationships so other people become advocates for the Y as well. A couple other things it did was it helped us to see the areas that we need to advocate more in. You know, we talked about what our priorities were, where we're trying to move our YMCA, and so it helped us to kind of talk through how we could actually be better advocates for certain areas of our branch. It also provided the opportunity for us to learn about really the state and national efforts that the YMCA has, that people have mentioned, but a lot of people on our staff team didn't know that, you know, we had a state alliance that had lobbyists who were working nationally on laws or grants or, you know, things like that that would trickle down and affect us in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I would say the overall response to the nugget was really beneficial. The staff really enjoyed talking about it. They really enjoyed the discussion that came from it, and I think they all thought that they learned from it and took something away from it. And so I highly recommend doing it with your team.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Katie. Very helpful to hear how you applied that nugget at your YMCA, and to hear how your staff took away some learnings after really hearing the different scenarios about advocacy and having some deep discussions about both things that they didn't know before and how that could apply at their YMCA. Lastly, we're going to hear from Chelsea Jocelyn, and I encourage all of you to hang on. I know that we're running a little bit late on time, and I apologize for that, but I'm going to really encourage you to stay on and listen to what Chelsea has to share. Chelsea is the Communications Director for the YMCA of Northwest North Carolina, where she shares the Y story in communities across 7 counties representing 14 branches and YMCA campaigns. She's responsible for media relations, writes newsletters, and other communication pieces, and she leads Living Our Cause for the association. Chelsea is one of our trainer champions for Living Our Cause and an awesome trainer champion. She actually just spoke at Expo, so some of you on the line may have actually heard her sharing some work about Living Our Cause at Expo in Anaheim. But what Chelsea is really going to get into today is really about storytelling and how we can do that in an informal way that really celebrates how our staff is living our cause. So Chelsea, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks so much. So to give you guys a little bit of background, our Y was a trendsetter Y. So we have been working at Living Our Cause for a while. We've seen it evolve, and we've tried a lot of different things. And one thing that we try to do really well at our Y is to be very aware of bright spots. And when we see that something's working well, to take that and see if we can replicate it across the different communities that we serve. So one of the areas that we have seen some great success that I want to share today is in celebrating our staff on social media. And we are on several social media networks, but for the purpose of this conversation, I'm going to be talking solely about Facebook and how we reach out to our communities on Facebook. So a while back, we started asking ourselves, when you look at our Facebook pages for the branches, for our YMCAs, are those pages showing the personalities of our Y? Are they lifting up the communities that we serve? Or are we using Facebook solely as a way to push out information? Sports are canceled today. Sign up now for this program. We know as a best practice in marketing that when we're using social media to its full potential, we want it to be the online representation of the community that we're building in real life every day at our Y. Think about how you use Facebook. You don't go on Facebook to see the ads. You go to connect with people that you have relationships with, to see photos and to hear updates that are important to them. We knew that we could be getting more out of our Facebook pages when we treated them the same way, as a way to connect and to show a glimpse of what's happening at the Y when people can't be at their particular branch. So that was our goal, to lift up community that's happening in real life. So you think about, what is the community at your Y? Well, it's definitely your members, it's your events and your programs, and then it's your staff. They're a big part of that too. And we all know that relationships are one of the most important parts of the work that we do at the Y. So when we started looking at this of a way to celebrate staff on social media, we knew that we would be more successful if we celebrated those people who already have strong relationships in the branches. That's going to make everything else you do more successful if you select those people who do have the strongest relationships, and it also recognizes the right people who are a really important part of the fabric of your YMCA. So when you think about starting to get started with this, a great way is through the Living Our Cause nuggets. So right now we're doing the Why I Give nugget, which works great, but we saw a lot of success last year when we did another nugget that was supporting the nationwide campaign. On the next slide, you'll see that you may remember that we had a nugget to share how staff help make the Y so much more. So we did that kind of the normal way you would roll out nuggets and meetings and that kind of thing. And then we decided to share some of the best responses, not all of them, but some of the best, on our branches' Facebook pages. And we didn't quite know what to expect when we put it up there, but the results we saw were really great. This example in front of you is from our Stokes YMCA, and this is Kay, who's a personal trainer. She works at the membership desk, so she knows a lot of people, and she's been at that branch for a really long time and has built really substantial relationships with the members they serve. So you see here that we saw incredible comments, tons of likes, tons of people, members, saying how much Kay means to them. So we tried it at one branch, and we thought, okay, this is a bright spot. Let's see if it works when we go to other branches. So on the next slide, you see that it did. This is another community, the Kernersville. If you're not familiar with North Carolina, these are about 30 to 45 minutes away from each other, so totally different communities they serve, but we're part of the same association. And this time we picked a part-time staff member. This is Heidi with some of the kids that she's helping watch over in Child Watch. And we posted her response to that nugget, how she helps make the Y so much more. And again, you see the same response. Oh, we love Heidi. I never worry about my kids when they're in Child Watch because Heidi's there. All these incredible comments that members are making. And then I've pointed out here where this man, Danny, identifies himself as Heidi's brother, and he says, thank you for sharing that picture. It meant so much to Heidi. And that's when we realized that this is about more than likes and comments. This has this dual effect of making the staff who work at the Y feel really good about the work that they do, and they should. They're obviously having a huge impact. So then, if you go to the next slide, I want to show you one more example of how we kind of took this and rolled it out beyond that particular nugget. The Kernersville Y we saw earlier, they did let's see here, they did an employee spotlight. So this was posted maybe one time a week at most, definitely not more than a couple of times a month. It's only a small part of our Facebook content, so it's not like we're going and bragging about ourselves all the time, but maybe once a week we're aiming to have an employee spotlight. So here we're profiling Angela, who's a very popular group exercise instructor with our active older adults, and we saw, again, the same things. Angela sharing just what it meant to her to work at the Y and a little bit of her personal story. And then you see this amazing recognition for her. She's the reason I've succeeded at the Y. All of these comments of people weighing in saying how much she means. So it's awesome that we're seeing this type of engagement, but then it's really great for Angela, too, to have a very tangible example of how she's helping people. She knows that, but it can't hurt to see it again. And I just want to point out, too, that, you know, we like to think that we're social media rock stars, but this is a lot more comments and engagement than we get on a sports is canceled tonight because of the rain post. So we started to see that this was really working, that our Facebook fans wanted to see this kind of stuff, and how could we do more of it? So on the next slide, I wanted to talk to you just for a minute about something else we're doing. The first examples I showed, those are all of our branch Facebook pages that our members see. We've also created a Facebook page, kind of like what YUSA does on a much smaller scale for our staff and volunteers. So like a lot of you, I'm sure, we're spread out across several counties. We have a lot of different branches, and we have a Living Our Cause team that represents each branch. But we wanted a way to reach our part-time people and other directors who maybe aren't part of that team but would still get Living Our Cause inspiration. So we use this page in our association as kind of a hub to give staff shout-outs and to lift out some of the Living Our Cause work that we're doing and to highlight what we really like, because we know from Living Our Cause that our culture is created by what we celebrate and remind people of, so we wanted a place to do that. I just want to point out that if you decide to do something like this at your branch, it's public. Anyone could find this page. You could go find it now, and you would see everything that we've posted. So we don't put anything that's very internal or that has to be private. Anyone can find this page. It just wouldn't make a lot of sense to them if it wasn't, you know, if they weren't part of the Y and knew about this Living Our Cause stuff and knew the people here. And I can see on the kind of the back end insights of our page that we're pretty much keeping it local, that it's a lot of the people that we want to be reaching. So that's kind of another idea to share with you that you think about celebrating staff. So on the last slide, I just want to wrap up that you saw in these examples that we saw great results when we did this. And there were two main buckets. It was staff seeing firsthand that they are very appreciated for the work they do. And we found that it was particularly meaningful for those part-time staff who may not really realize the impact that they make. So Heidi, who we showed earlier, was part-time last year when that photo was taken, has since become a full-time staff member. She is more engaged. I'm not going to say it's that Facebook post that did it, but I think it's indicative of the kind of employee that Heidi is and the fact that she deserves that kind of recognition. She deserves that special emphasis on the page. The second way that we've seen huge results is through those likes and comments, which we call, you know, engagement on social media. So any of you who are in marketing, you already know this, but just so everybody's aware, that engagement on your branch's Facebook page is so important because that determines how high up you show up in someone's news feed. Facebook has a whole algorithm for deciding what they're going to show to people, and the more engagement that you have, the more that you're going to show up higher. So this little graph that you see at the bottom, that was a 1-month snapshot from last year of one of the branches, and the smaller parts of the graph, that's where you see just kind of our normal run-of-the-mill Facebook posts, and then those huge spikes are from when we shared those staff stories. So it really works. I hope that you'll try it. And I would just tell you that if you start doing some of this stuff, that it's all about experimenting and seeing what works with your Facebook audience and what they like, and then taking what works and replicating it and finding those bright spots and making them happen. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you get some good ideas out of it.
Thank you, Chelsea. Did I tell you or did I tell you that listening to Chelsea was going to be a real treat and that you would have a great takeaway from hanging on with us? So I'm going to wrap up here with just a couple of slides. If you want to find some of those Living Our Cause nuggets that you heard about today from Tammy and from Katie, you can find them by going to Exchange and clicking on Living Our Cause on the right rail. Once you're in the Living Our Cause section, you can see we've got nuggets and storytelling. Under nuggets, you'll be able to find those two advocacy nuggets, what is advocacy and how I advocate, so that you can do those nuggets at your YMCA just like Katie and Tammy did with their staff. And if you click on storytelling, you'll be able to actually hear about Chelsea and the work that they have been doing at the YMCA of Northwest North Carolina to celebrate their staff on social media. I told you at the beginning of the webcast that I would be inviting all of you to become trainer champions for Living Our Cause. Trainer champions, as you can see, are some awesome folks who are passionate about the work that we do, and they spread their passion to their staff, to their volunteers, to their colleagues, and so we invite you to be part of that positive energy. We have trainer academies throughout 2015. Houston is done, but we've got a bunch coming up, so you can see those on your screen right now. If you are interested in becoming a trainer champion for Living Our Cause, you can actually email us at the email below and just put in the subject line Trainer Academy, and we will work with you to help you get signed up for one of these trainer academies in a location near you. You can still participate with Living Our Cause even if you're not one of our 200 trainer champions. You can follow us and join us on social media. We have our Twitter handle on the screen as well as a Facebook page. We have our YouTube channel, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on Instagram. These are places where you will hear positive stories from your colleagues across the country where we are celebrating our cause, how we fulfill that cause each and every day, and reminding each other of the wonderful work that we do. You can also stay informed through getting exchange alerts. So to set up alerts, the directions are on your screen there, 1 through 6. You can easily just update your profile and then click on alerts, and you can choose to receive Living Our Cause alerts through Exchange. What will you get when you sign up for that? Well, you'll get emails that give you information about things like today's webcast. They'll also share with you the fact that we have 4 new nuggets. And so to help find those nuggets, you'll get Exchange alerts directly sent to your email with links to the new nuggets. Here are the 4 that we have actually that have launched this week on Exchange. All of them have to do with our healthy living and youth development areas. We also have those advocacy nuggets, which we'll be sharing out through Exchange alerts this week as well, so you can easily get to them, as well as a link to today's recorded webcast. So by signing up for Exchange alerts, you'll be able to easily find the newest Living Our Cause information. When is our next webcast? Tuesday, April 21st, where we will talk specifically about Hop the Gap. How can you engage your staff in nationwide campaigns summer initiative of Hop the Gap? So you can join us on Tuesday, April 21st at 1 p.m. to learn how you can do Hop the Gap with your staff. And now I'd like to actually do some Q&A. So if you have a question, you can ask it through the phone, or you can actually ask it through chat on WebEx. Operator?
Okay, at this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the roster.
Thank you, Tammy. And I do have one question that came in through chat. The question was, will you provide a copy of the slides after the presentation? Yes, a copy of the slides as well as the recorded webcast itself will be posted to Exchange. Our goal is to have that up within 24 hours. If not, it will be up within 48. So please look through that through your Exchange alerts. We'll also be tweeting out when we put that recorded webcast up as well onto Exchange. Stephanie, I believe there was a question for Chelsea about Facebook page. The email address to become a trainer champion for Living Our Cause is living_our_cause at ymca.net. I'm going to put that up on the screen for you. There it is. That is the email address you would want to email if you're interested in becoming a trainer champion for Living Our Cause.
Okay, and your first question comes from the line of Nikki Rosenblock.
All right. Hi, Nikki.
Hi, I sent it to you too. I know you're going to post it on Exchange. Are you going to send the links of where on Exchange back to the people who attended, or it'll just be under the Living Our Cause area?
It will be under the Living Our Cause webcast section, under recorded webcasts, but we will be sending that out, like I said, through social media with a direct link as well as a direct link in Exchange alerts.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Nikki.
Okay, and again, if you would like to ask a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. And our next question comes from the line of Tiffany Copeland.
Hi, Tiffany.
Hi. Thank you so much for this webcast. I have a question about DPP, Diabetes Prevention Program. you said there was a legislative act that's in the process that would make it coverable through Medicare. What's the name of that legislation again?
Kelly, or Tammy, can you take that question?
Yep, that's the Medicare Diabetes Prevention Act, and if that's passed, and that's a legislative priority of ours, if it's passed, then it will make programs like the YMCA's Diabetes Prevention Program a covered service under Medicare. So folks who receive Medicare will be able to access the program for free, and then WISE will also be free. Yep. And our legislative priorities are on Exchange on the advocacy page. So if anyone wants to learn more about all of our legislative priorities, you can go to Exchange and then just go to the federal and state advocacy page.
Awesome.
Okay, there are no further questions at this time. Ms. Ryan, do you have any closing remarks?
I actually have a question that came in from the chat that was more for Chelsea. So Chelsea, I'm going to read the question and then you can answer this. The question is, why create a separate page for staff? Why not just include those posts on your main external facing Facebook?
So what we found was that it was a little overwhelming on our external branch pages to post all of the Living Our Cause content that we had. Specifically, we did some things, I believe it's a nugget on the Exchange that you can see called the Wristband Project, where we would do a summer project focused just on Living Our Cause. And one of the things we wanted to have be part of that project was social sharing, so employees could go see the pictures of other people who did Living Our Cause things to be recognized with the wristband. That's a very small explanation of it. So for us, it was too much to have on a branch page. We wanted another way to connect and to share ideas, but it's a much smaller audience. So one of our branch pages might have, thousands of Facebook fans. We have I think 340, 350 on that smaller Living Our Cause page.
Thank you, Chelsea. And I have one last question that came in through chat, and then we are going to say goodbye. If any other questions come in, you can email. If you have any more questions, tell them the address you can see on your screen. The question that came in was really about permission from marketing to start a staff and volunteer page. So I will answer this with my marketing hat, like marketing department at the local level and at the national office, as well as from the Living Our Cause level. You should never start a Facebook page for your YMCA without having coordination with your department at YUSA. So I wouldn't say that they necessarily have to have permission. That's going to depend on policies your YMCA has in place. But definitely do it with a coordinated effort. So really contacting your marketing staff to talk to them about your desires is an important part of having a strategy such as staff and volunteer engagement. You really want to be engaging all members of the leadership like that. Tammy, are there any other questions through the phone?
Yes, we do have another question from the line of Tiffany Copeland.
Okay.
Hey, I have so many questions, but I know we're pressed for time. I want to know, there's no Living Our Cause presence at my Y currently, and I know that we take this on by storm. It'd be a great thing to start at our Y, and I'm part-time transitioning to full-time in just 6 months of being there, so there's a lot of open doors at my Y. Here in Western North Carolina, I'm at Asheville, Reuter, Western North Carolina. So Chelsea, Jocelyn, I'll be reaching out to you in email.
Awesome.
How can we get it started at our Y? What would be my first step?
Perfect. That's exactly what our trainer and champions are geared up to do. So I'm so glad you asked, Tiffany. Chelsea is a trainer champion in your area, and there are several others as well. So you can contact Chelsea directly, or you can email the email you see on your screen right now, and actually ask us, who are the trainer champions for Living Our Cause in our region? We will connect you with them, and they can share their learnings and success they've had with really helping staff and volunteers. And that will conclude today's webcast. Again, you can always find us through the email or through the social media channel. Thank you for joining us.